Another horrendous disaster occurred in 1900 when two of Padstow's lifeboats were wrecked on the same rescue. The all-manned Arab went to the aid of the Peace and Plenty, which had struck the Greenaway rocks. The Arab itself was struck and disabled by heavy seas. Reaching the rocks, the crew of the lifeboat jumped to the shore, but the Arab was wrecked. On the same night, the steam lifeboat, the James Stephens, launched to assist the Peace and Plenty, but she was also struck by a wave and rolled over. In total, 11 hands were lost that night, 8 from the James Stephens and 3 from the Peace and Plenty. Today, Padstow Lifeboat Station can be found a few miles from the town, around the corner at Trevose Head. The original station was built in 1967, but recently, Padstow has been blessed with a new boathouse and the new state-of-the-art Tamar-class lifeboat. I wanted to know what it was like to be part of a lifeboat crew, so I went to meet Alan Tarby, the coxswain of Padstow Lifeboat, to find out. I also wanted to know why he and his crew continually risk their own lives to save others.
I was a fisherman in Padstow at the time. Michael, the mechanic's father, was a coxswain, and he asked me if I wanted to join the crew. It seemed the thing to do, so I did it. I've been crew member, I've been emergency mechanic, second coxswain, and then coxswain. First call I've been on was Christmas Eve 1977. The ship went down and all the crew were drowned. The skipper had his family with him, children and wife and children and everything. It was southwesterly gale when the ship sunk off here. We didn't find anything at all. You know, you imagine what the lifeboat's like, and when you go to sea, you think it's all going to be fantastic, but you realise it's not. It's things go wrong and it's not perfect, and it's a challenge, I think, of doing it, you know. Because you never know what you're going to get. It isn't something you can plan. When a shout comes, first you know about it is the information you get as a casualty, and having to think on your feet and work out solutions to problems and react to situations that change. It's quite rewarding when it all goes right. Other way around, it can be very upsetting when it goes wrong. You know, shouts that go wrong stick in your head as well as shouts that go right. To begin with, it's just a big adrenaline rush. You know, your brain's working overtime, thinking. You know, sometimes you're searching. By the time you've been searching 3 or 4 hours, and the chances of finding anybody are quite slim, it does get quite hard to motivate yourself into. But you've got to bear in mind that whoever's out there is relying on you to help them. I think that's always in your mind, that you could be that person's only hope. So you've got to keep trying until all the hope is gone. In a way, it brings you reality to what lifeboat's all about. You know, everybody has a feeling of what lifeboating is, but the reality of it is completely different. You know, it's a bit like Dad's Army sometimes. You get there in the end, but the way you get there isn't always the perfect method. Believe in the boat, no matter what anybody tells you. The crew have to believe the boat is not going to let them down. You know, any boat you go to sea is like that. Unless you deal with boats, you don't understand the bond between the boat and its crew. You know, the RLI will tell you all sorts of wonderful things about it, but until the men have actually been on it, been out in bad weather and seen how it reacts and what it does and how reliable it is, and that's when the bond builds. To get somebody out of trouble and help them in, it's fantastic. You feel really good. You know. People don't always react the way you think they would, because obviously they're emotional, and sometimes the reaction can be quite strange. You think they're not really grateful, but when they get in and they think about it, you know, 99% are always write you a letter or send you something for a drink. So people are very, very good. There's always been a lifeboat in Padstow, so it's sort of accepted as part of it. You know, I think people that have come to the town and don't understand it think it's fantastic, but people that have lived in Padstow all their lives, they know what the lifeboat's all about and how it works, and they've also had relations that have been on there. So I don't think it has quite the status that, you know, perhaps it ought to. I think with lifeboat places you tend to find that if somebody tries to take it away, there'd be a tremendous thing. But while it's there, it's just sort of part of the fabric of the town. Isn't it?
Moving further down Cornwall, and it's not long until you come across one of the many empty tin mine engine houses which are scattered around the county. You can't help but feel, when seeing a tin mine, a haunting sensation, as if it were just yesterday that they were in use. Mining was a huge way of life in Cornwall, as the county's grounds found to hold ore, tin and clay. Tin mining as they say, was the lie of the land, especially in the 18th and 19th centuries. But the work was hard, the hours were long, the wages poor, and a miner's life expectancy was short. The contact with arsenic, lead and uranium meant that many died from cirrhosis or tuberculosis. Cornish mines were struggling to compete with foreign competition that sold copper at a cheaper price. Arriving in Cornwall in 1743 was the founder of the Methodism Church, John Wesley. He brought hope to the miners. The miners heard tales of work in warmer climates, where they could have a better way of life with more pay, so many said goodbye to their mining towns such as Bodmin and Redruth and emigrated with their families to countries as far as Canada and Australia. These men were to be known as Cousin Jacks, and the women, Cousin Jennies, Cornish people having to make brave decisions and leave their home county because of poverty. These weren't just Cornish people, they were tough Cornish people. Cornwall has a remarkable marine life that surrounds its shores, but there's been one mammal I've always had a soft spot for, and that's the grey seal. The UK used to be the home of hundreds and thousands of seals until they were being hunted near to extinction for their fur. Several legislations against seal hunting were introduced and abolished in this country, and the killing of seals continued on and off throughout the 20th century, right up until the 1980s, until a public outcry put a stop to seal hunting. I'm glad to say that today it is still illegal to kill seals in this country, and the numbers of seals are increasing, with over half the world's grey seal population is found to be living around the UK. Unfortunately, injured seals or abandoned seal pups do get found on our beaches, but there are a number of people who dedicate their lives to helping these mammals. I went to meet Rachel, a seal carer and expert at the Cornish Seal Sanctuary way down in Gweek, to find out more about what her important job entails.
The most common seal in the UK is the grey seals. This is because we do have another species of seal, which is the harbour seal, known to the rest of the world, but only known as the common seal in the UK. They had a disease hit them about 15 years ago now, which actually depleted their numbers quite rapidly, but they are slowly on the increase. The reason we only have the grey seal around the Cornish coastline is due to our actual coastline. It is too rocky for the other type of seal, which is the harbour seal that lives in the UK. The common seal actually prefers sandy beaches and things to give birth on. We do get the odd visitor down here, but they tend not to stay very long and then disappear back to sandier climes. Probably between Devon, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, there's about 1,500 seals in total, but we do also have seals visiting from other countries as well. In the wild, grey seals are expected to live till their middle to late teens, but here at the sanctuary we actually have the world's oldest grey seal at a grand old 39 years of age, which actually makes him about 117 in seal years, so he's a really old boy. Only active twice during the year, feeding time and breeding time. Other than that, he spends his life sleeping. Grey seals are born between the months of September and January. Not an ideal time of the year to be born, as this is the winter and we have some of the roughest weather down here in Cornwall. And this is when we get our most calls really. It's over the winter period to come out and help these pups. A grey seal will have a white coat for around 3 weeks before that will be moulted and then replaced with a grey coat.